Hello and welcome to CYC News for the 17th of January 2021 and the 9th of October 17:37 AM. I'm Bishoy Basilius. In today's headlines, Lebanon to impose round-the-clock curfew as COVID-19 cases spike. Australia to begin mass COVID-19 vaccinations in February. Large trial of new COVID-19 treatment begins in the UK. California's Disneyland to become COVID-19 vaccination site. Pompeo says Iran is Al-Qaeda's new home base. Italy's biggest mafia trial in decades opens. Brazil results show Chinese COVID-19 vaccine is 50.4% effective. And Paul Pogba says Manchester United are ready for big moment against Liverpool. But first to Lebanon, where an 11-day curfew was enforced from 5 AM on Thursday as hospitals struggled to cope with a spike in new COVID-19 infections. People are forbidden from leaving their homes with few exemptions. They will be unable to shop in supermarkets and will need to rely on deliveries. The airport will remain open, but the number of passengers will be reduced. Authorities say without drastic action, the country's fragile health system will be overwhelmed. Compared to other countries, Lebanon had until now coped relatively well with COVID-19. At a meeting of the Supreme Defense Council last Monday, President Michel Aoun said, "We have seen dreadful scenes of citizens waiting in front of hospitals for a chair or a bed. Radical measures must be taken so that we can mitigate the catastrophic consequences of the coronavirus outbreak." Health officials said an easing of restrictions over Christmas and New Year's had now led to a dramatic spike in infections. Lebanon, which has a population of 6 million, has reported more than 222,000 confirmed COVID-19 cases and over 1,600 deaths since the start of the pandemic. Only health professionals, the food sector and other essential workers will be allowed out onto the streets during the curfew, which is scheduled to last until 5 AM on January 25, but could well be extended. Back home to Australia now, and facing fresh outbreaks of COVID-19, the federal government has pledged to start mass vaccinations in February instead of March, as was planned. Prime Minister Scott Morrison said regulators were now expected to approve the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine by the end of January. He announced the plans on Thursday as the cities of Sydney and Melbourne and now Brisbane battle to control new clusters. Mr. Morrison said, "We are now in a position where we believe we will be able to commence vaccinations in mid to late February." Following regulatory approval, the first of the country's order of 10 million Pfizer vaccine doses should be issued in a matter of weeks, with 4 million Australians potentially vaccinated by March. Authorities also struck a deal with AstraZeneca, which developed a vaccine with Oxford University to produce doses locally. Mr. Morrison said the approval of that vaccine is expected in February. With both vaccines approved, Australia aims to vaccinate 80,000 people weekly at first and then accelerate the pace. The priority groups in the first round include the 700,000 frontline workers in the health sector, border enforcement and care homes, along with the residents of care homes. Following that, Australians aged over 70, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders over 55, healthcare workers, adults with underlying health conditions, and emergency services workers will be next. A large-scale trial of a new treatment it is hoped will help stop COVID-19 patients from developing severe illness has begun in the UK. The first patient received the treatment at Hull Royal Infirmary last Tuesday afternoon. It involves inhaling a protein called interferon beta, which the body produces when it gets a viral infection. It was developed at Southampton University Hospital and is being produced by the Southampton-based biotech company Synergen. A course of treatment with the new drug could cost around £2,000, which is not that expensive for a hospital treatment. Synergen's chief executive, Richard Marsden, said, "To be viable, it will have to represent good value for money. The hope is it will stimulate the immune system, priming cells to be ready to fight off viruses." Early findings suggested the treatment cut the odds of a COVID-19 patient in hospital developing severe disease, such as requiring ventilation, by almost 80%. 34-year-old Alexandra Constantin was the first person to receive the treatment as part of this new trial after she was admitted to the hospital with COVID-19 on Monday. She has a young daughter at home she is desperate to get back to. Demonstrating the treatment, the nurse handed her a nebulizer that makes the drug into a fine mist, which Alexandra inhaled as deep into her lungs as she could. Over to the United States now, where California's Disneyland theme park is set to become a massive COVID-19 vaccination site, county officials announced on Monday. The happiest place on earth is one of several large distribution sites opening up in the state as cases soar and hospitals near capacity. The park has been closed to visitors since mid-March 2020. California, the most populous US state, has lagged behind in its vaccination rate, doling out around a third of its doses so far. According to CDC data, California ranks 42nd out of 50 states in its vaccination rate per 100,000 residents. California Governor Gavin Newsom also announced similar vaccination sites would be opening up at Los Angeles Dodgers Stadium, Cal Expo in Sacramento, and Petco Park in San Diego. He said, "We recognize that the current strategy is not going to get us to where we need to go as quickly as we all need to go. That's why we're speeding up the administration, not just for priority groups, but opening up large sites to do so." Last Monday, Orange County Supervisor Andrew Doe said the Disneyland Resort in Orange County would become the region's first super distribution site. It will have the capacity to vaccinate thousands of people daily. The state's current vaccination campaign is focusing on high-priority individuals like healthcare workers and long-term care facility residents. California has the third highest death rate in the country. US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has publicly accused Iran's government of allowing the jihadist network Al-Qaeda to establish a new home base within the country. He told the National Press Club, "Unlike in Afghanistan when Al-Qaeda was hiding in the mountains, Al-Qaeda today is operating under the hard shell of the Iranian regime's protection." Mike Pompeo provided no concrete evidence to support his allegations. Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif called them warmongering lies. Last November, Iran denied a report that Al-Qaeda's second-in-command Abdullah Ahmed Abdullah, also known as Abu Muhammad al-Masri, had been shot dead in Tehran by Israeli agents following a request from the US. At Tuesday's Washington news conference, Mr. Pompeo said he could confirm for the first time that Masri had died on August 7, although he gave no further details. He asserted that people were wrong to believe that a Shia Muslim power, an extremist Sunni group that considers Shia heretics, were bitter enemies. Since 2015, Mr. Pompeo alleged Tehran had allowed Al-Qaeda figures in the country to freely communicate with other members and to perform many functions that were previously directed from Afghanistan and Pakistan, including authorization for attacks, propaganda, and fundraising. The Secretary of State said the US intended to give the status of specially designated global terrorists to two Al-Qaeda leaders that it believed were based in Iran: Mohammed Abatai, also known as Abdurrahman al-Maghribi, and Sultan Yusuf Hassan al-Arif. Over to Italy now, where hundreds of alleged members of the country's most powerful mafia group are set to face justice in the nation's biggest organized crime trial in decades. The 355 suspected mobsters and corrupt officials were charged following a long inquiry into the 'Ndrangheta group. More than 900 witnesses are expected to give evidence, and the charge sheet includes murder, drug trafficking, extortion, and money laundering. The trial began on Wednesday and is expected to last more than 2 years. It is taking place in a specially modified building in the southern region of Calabria, which is at the heart of the 'Ndrangheta territory. The building, formerly a call center in the town of Lamezia Terme, has been converted into a fortified courtroom to make space for the hundreds of people likely to attend the proceedings. No mafia trial has been held in Italy on such a scale since the 1980s. In some health news, a coronavirus vaccine developed by China's Sinovac has been found to be 50.4% effective in Brazilian clinical trials, according to the latest results released by researchers. It shows the vaccine is significantly less effective than previous data suggests, barely over the 50% needed for regulatory approval. The Chinese vaccine is one of two that the Brazilian government has lined up in one of the countries worst affected by COVID-19. Sinovac, a Beijing-based biopharmaceutical company, is behind CoronaVac, an inactivated vaccine. It works by using killed viral particles to expose the body's immune system to the virus without risking a serious disease response. Several countries, including Indonesia, Turkey, and Singapore, have placed orders for the vaccine. Recently, researchers at the Butantan Institute, which has been conducting the trials in Brazil, announced the vaccine had a 78% efficacy against mild to severe COVID-19 cases. Last Tuesday, they revealed calculations for this figure did not include data from a group of very mild infections, among those who received the vaccine that did not require clinical assistance. With the inclusion of this data, researchers said the efficacy rate is now 50.4%. but Butantan stressed the vaccine is 78% effective in preventing mild cases that needed treatment and 100% effective in staving off moderate to serious cases. And in sport, Paul Pogba urged new league leaders Manchester United to keep calm for the big moment when his side faced champions Liverpool on Sunday. United are top of the Premier League table after the turn of the year for the first time since they last won the title in 2012-13 and could move 6 points clear with a victory at Anfield this weekend. Pogba told BBC Sport, "It will be a beautiful game for everyone. It is a big game coming up, so let's get ready for it. We have to keep calm. Now it is the big moment. We will see what is going to happen." Pogba's deflected volley gave Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's side 3 points at Burnley to put them back on the summit and set up a huge game against Liverpool. Manchester United are now unbeaten in 15 Premier League away fixtures, winning 12 of them with their last defeat on the road coming at Anfield a year ago. And that's all for CYC News. A reminder that you can watch this news bulletin again throughout the week on YouTube. I'm Bishoy Basilius from the CYC studios in Sydney, Australia. See you next time.